don't want to put my wife on a handy-dart bus to go to treatment. And the staff said, do it for your sake and for hers. So when the first handy-dart driver came to our house, she was all dressed and ready to go, but she said, I don't want to go on that bus. And the driver knew what he was doing. He put out his arm and he said, come on, Joan, let's go. And away they went onto the bus. So she eventually was able to go to Commissaire on a regular basis, I think twice a week, which was really a blessing for me because I had some freedom. When you act as a caregiver, you really have to be on guard virtually 24 hours a day because your partner will wake up in the middle of the night, as I said, and get dressed and want to go out. They'll do things in the kitchen that they wouldn't have done ordinarily, like you leave a stove turned on, or leave a kettle, let it boil dry. All those things happen, so you have to be so alert as a caregiver and make sure that you understand that you have to watch all the time. So when you get a little break for a few hours here and there, that's fine. And the next step was to take my wife Joan to what's called respite care for 4 days at a time. It happened to be down at the Delta facility, which is a very fine facility. And I'll never forget taking her in there. And I thought I'll be surreptitious, I'll have her clothing in a suitcase, leave it in the car, and I'll take it in after. Well, it doesn't work that way. When you check into those places, you have to show them the luggage, open it up, take everything out on the bed, and they make a note of every garment in the bag, and they have to do it, of course. But Joan is right there. So she's wondering, what's going on? Am I staying here? So I said, and I lied a little bit, I said, maybe we'd like to stay one night, maybe not for the whole. And I knew it would be 4 nights. And the hardest thing of all was going to the door to leave. And she kept stepping side by side with me as I went to the door. And the staff had given me the code, so I knew how to get out. But literally, I had to close the door in her face. That hurt a lot. I went home and I cried because I thought that I had betrayed her. And it took a while for me to adjust to it. And I remember talking to some professionals and phoning them and saying, what should I do? Should I go visit Joan or should I leave it for a couple of days? And I got mixed opinions. And I thought the next morning, I'd better go see her. So I appeared there. She was sitting in a chair, and she looked up and she said, well, look who's here. And she wasn't angry at all. I was amazed at that. And then the next step was to go to full-time care. And there was a very, very tough decision for any caregiver, husband or wife, or perhaps someone else in the family who has to make the decision. But we knew that it was time. I just couldn't care for her at home. A lot of problems with hygiene, many, many things that are so difficult. So we were lucky we got into a lovely facility called Care of Life up in the Fleetwood district in Surrey. And I remember taking her there with my 2 daughters. And everything went fine until they said, could you tell us about your family? And I said, well, this is my daughter, Linda, my daughter, Lori. And do you have a son? Well, we lost our son in a canoeing accident almost 30 years ago. So when our son's name came up, and my wife lost it, and I lost it, it was almost doing me almost sorry, but it was a difficult time. At any rate, I didn't come to talk only about my family, and thank you for indulging me in that. But I wanted to talk about an article that I read. I happen to be a member of the United Church, and they put out a very fine publication called The Observer. And this edition, the most recent one, is about loneliness. And the cover says, all the lonely people. An estimated 6 million Canadians live in isolation. Social researchers are now calling it a hidden epidemic. And I was so shocked at that, you know, that it would be 6 million people, because that represents about, I figured it out, about 17% of our population. And if you boil it down to people who are over 50 in their 60s, it would be a much higher percentage of people who are lonely. And something that I had not realized, and it says so in the article, that biologically what's happening is that the fear that lonely people experience actually stimulates stress hormones, which in turn trigger inflammation, a major factor in heart disease. And when that stress is constant, it also greatly increases the risk of depression and suicide. The article says that being isolated often translates into being inactive, and that's what increases the risk of obesity and diabetes. I happen to have diabetes, but certainly not obese. I try to keep it down. The article concludes that loneliness is bad for your heart and it's bad for your soul. Yet it says that isolation is quite commonplace. Now, these are all negative things I've been talking about, but I don't operate in the negative sphere. I kind of look at things as though the glass is half full rather than half empty. And the positive side of my message is that we have treatment here in this community and services that is just beyond compare. It's just terrific. And I speak specifically of the Come Share Society. They know how to deal with a lot of problems. And just recently I was given a tour of the facility here in White Rock. I walk in and here's a room with about 34 people, elderly, and yes, like me. I'm 81. But they're sitting at tables and they're having coffee and some goodies, some baking, and they're having animated conversations. And it did my heart good to see how much these people enjoyed being out and enjoying each other. And that's really what Come Share is all about. To meet the needs of people who are alone, or people who have loved ones in care, and some people who may have some medical problems of their own, but they're still able to come out. They have so many programs. Among them, the Better at Home program. It helps people with simple, non-medical, day-to-day tasks so that they can continue to live independently in their own homes and remain connected to their communities. The government of British Columbia funds the program, United Way of Lower Mainland manages it, and Senior Come Share Society provides the services in Cloverdale, South Surrey, and White Rock, and Sue tells me soon the new facility in Guildford. Now, I enjoyed my visit there, and I learned a lot about some of the things that they do. One program is called Share and Care Socials Club, helping seniors connect with one another through socializing in a fun and interactive environment. Well, I saw proof of that at the coffee table. And they have a program for what they call the Friendly Visitor Program, which is spending time in person with lonely and isolated seniors to offer companionship and friendship. There's even a telephone tree program, just spending time on the phone with seniors to socialize and enjoy friendly conversations. There's a volunteer drivers program to take seniors shopping or to go to medical appointments. There's a walking club, another one for using computers. A caregiver outreach program that gives direct support for individuals and families, a program that recognizes that caregiving can involve increased stress, health problems, depression, and financial consequences. Being a caregiver in my case did have an impact on me, and I worried a little bit about becoming just a little too stressed out. So my answer is keep busy. I do a lot of things. I visit Joan almost every day, even though at this point in life, unfortunately she is in a wheelchair, although physically she's able to walk, but mentally she is not. So I see her in a wheelchair, and most of the time now, particularly the last few months, she's been asleep. I know that she's not been given a lot of drugs, it's not that. I think the brain cells are just dying, and who knows what the future holds. But it's kind of pathetic to visit, and he doesn't know her daughters anymore. He doesn't know her grandchildren, and I don't think she knows me. Although I say from time to time, I'm George, I'm your husband, I love you. My friend Stan, who's sitting in the back here, is our coordinator, facilitator for our group, our support group for Alzheimer's. He told me, I hope you don't mind me telling the story, Stan. Stan's wife is in a facility just down the road here, and he tells her often, I love you, I love you. And one day she said, how could you love me? You don't even know me. That's just what happens with Alzheimer's. One of the things that I've been doing and trying to keep busy is that we had the Alzheimer's Walk, you may remember, in early May. And this year, we had a tremendous turnout, I think over 300 walkers, and we raised over $60,000, up tremendously from last year. So we're very, very happy with that. My job with the Alzheimer's Society, because of my media background, I guess, is to try and get publicity. Get some stuff on the radio, on TV, in the paper, whatever you can do. So I'm trying to do the same thing now for a new organization that we've set up, which is the Volunteer Cancer Drivers Society. You may not know it, but the Canadian Cancer Society found it too expensive to run, so they quit the program last October. Now that left a lot of people in dire straits trying to get to their treatment facilities like hospitals and cancer clinics. So we've set up a new organization, and our third month was the month of May. We had 44 drivers on the road. We made almost 300 patient trips to hospitals and treatment facilities. And we try to pay the drivers not for their time, but just for their mileage. And it's costing us a lot of money, like $5,000 and $6,000 a month now. And we've been scrambling to raise money. The city of Surrey has given us $5,000. Delta gave us $5,000. The Surrey firefighters gave us $5,000. And we have applications in to the city of White Rock. I'm told it's being considered. And we also have an application, or will have an application into the Peace Arch Hospital Foundation when they open up their applications in August. So by and large, we're doing our best to try and keep this service going. And my own life is one of fulfillment. I'm very active in our church. I happen to be the guy that brings the muffins now. I learned how to read the directions on the box, and I can make muffins. So I take that most weeks. My wife used to say, if you can read, you can cook. So I'm enjoying cooking, really. At any rate, I have a very, very close friend of mine who was went to hospital just the other night. He was having some bladder problems, and he was stricken with pneumonia. Such a considerate man. He phoned his daughters, and he said, I'm sick, I should go to the hospital.